Station Kepler-7 floated in the dark space between stars. It was a place where many different alien species came to trade and do business. The station had been here for 300 years, long before humans ever left their home planet Earth. Commander Sarah Chen walked through the busy market section of the station. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. She was not tall, but she carried herself with quiet confidence. Her crew followed behind her, just 3 people from her small diplomatic ship. Sarah had been in space for 15 years. She had learned many alien languages and customs. She knew how to smile and bow and shake hands, or tentacles, or whatever the species in front of her preferred. Patience was her greatest skill. She had learned it the hard way. The market was full of strange smells and sounds. Vaxorians stood at many of the stalls. They were tall creatures nearly 8 feet high, with 4 arms and tough gray skin. Their heads looked like triangles, with 3 eyes arranged in a pattern. They controlled most of the trade in this part of space. Sarah stopped at a human trading stall. The merchant there was an older man named Marcus. His face looked worried. 3 Vaxorian soldiers stood around his stall, poking through his cargo boxes. "What's happening here?" Sarah asked calmly. A Vaxorian captain turned to face her. His uniform had many medals on it. His name was Thexral, according to the translator device in Sarah's ear. He looked down at her with all 3 eyes. "Human merchant violated trade regulations," Thexral said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. "We confiscate illegal goods." "What regulations?" Sarah asked. She kept her voice level and professional. "The regulations we decide," Thexral said. He made a sound that might have been laughter. Marcus looked at Sarah with pleading eyes. "Commander, they're taking everything. 6 months of trade goods, it's all legal. I have the permits." Sarah stepped closer. "May I see the violation report?" Thexral's 3 eyes focused on her. "You question Vaxorian authority?" "I'm asking to see documentation," Sarah said. "That's standard procedure in any dispute." For a moment, Thexral just stared at her. Then he reached out with one of his 4 arms and pushed Sarah backward. She stumbled but did not fall. Her crew moved forward, but she held up a hand to stop them. "Humans are new to space," Thexral announced loudly. Other aliens in the market turned to watch. "You do not understand how things work. You are weak. You have small ships and no real power. You follow our rules or you leave." Sarah's jaw tightened. She took a slow breath. "I'm requesting formal mediation through Station Authority." "Station Authority answers to Vaxorian interests," Thexral said. He gestured to his soldiers. "Take all of it. Put this human in a holding cell if he complains." Marcus started to protest, but Sarah touched his shoulder. "Don't," she said quietly. The Vaxorians loaded Marcus's goods onto their cargo sleds. 6 months of work, 6 months of trading between star systems, all gone in minutes. Other human merchants watched from their stalls, their faces angry but helpless. Sarah stood very still. Her hands were at her sides, but they were clenched into fists. Her crew knew that sign. Lieutenant Park whispered, "Commander, we should go." "Yes," Sarah said softly, but she did not move yet. She watched the Vaxorians take everything. She watched them laugh about it. She watched Thexral look at her with contempt in all 3 eyes. "You see how it is, human?" Thexral said. "This is our space. You are just guests. Remember that." Sarah's voice came out very quiet. "Now you've really pushed it." The words were barely above a whisper, but several older alien merchants heard them. A treath trader who looked like a walking stick insect immediately started packing his stall. A blob-like Quellan began moving away quickly. A few other aliens, ones who had been in space for many decades, suddenly found reasons to leave. Thexral did not notice. He was busy directing his soldiers. Lieutenant Park touched Sarah's arm. "Commander?" Sarah turned and walked away. Her face showed nothing. No anger, no fear. Just a cold, calm blankness that her crew had learned to recognize. It was the look she got when she had made a decision that could not be changed. They returned to their ship in silence. Sarah went to her quarters and began writing reports. Official reports, through proper channels, everything documented, everything recorded. Down in the cargo bay, the ship's engineer, a young woman named Rita Chen, looked at the pilot, Lieutenant Park. The commander said the words. Park nodded slowly. I heard. What happens now? Park had been with Sarah for 7 years. He had seen this twice before, on smaller matters. Now we file the paperwork. And then other things happen. Things that nobody can quite prove came from us. That's it? Humans don't threaten, Park said. He started doing a diagnostic check on the ship's systems. We don't beat our chests or make speeches. We just quietly make sure that people who push us too far regret it. Rita frowned. That sounds like a threat. No, Park said. A threat is when you tell someone what you'll do. This is different. This is when you decide something has to change, and then you make it change. Quietly, carefully, completely. Back on the station, the old Treath trader was telling a younger merchant from his world about what he had witnessed. The human said the words, the old one said, his voice clicking with worry. What words? The words that mean humans have stopped being patient. I have been trading in space for 60 years. I have seen it 3 times before. Each time the species that angered the humans was very sorry within a year. But humans are weak, the young Treath said. They have been in space less than 100 years. They have small ships, small colonies. Everyone says so. The old Treath merchant packed another box. That is what the Kraven said. That is what the Drell Consortium said. That is what the Borderland clan said. They all said humans were weak. They all learned differently. What happened to them? Nothing violent, nothing illegal. But somehow their ships started having problems. Their trade routes became unprofitable. Their colonies found better partners. The humans never admitted to doing anything, but everyone knew. Everyone in space who has lived long enough knows. When a human says you have pushed it, you apologize immediately or you start losing. The young merchant laughed. That is superstition. The old merchant looked at him with his large compound eyes. Perhaps, but I have a family and a business. I will not gamble them on being right about human weakness. I am leaving this station. Because of some words? Because humans do not waste words on empty threats. Because they are patient until they are not. Because once you cross their line, they do not forgive. They solve the problem, and you do not want to be the problem they are solving. The old merchant finished packing and left Station Kepler 7 that same day. He would later tell other traders that it was the best business decision he ever made. The Galactic Council building stood on the neutral planet of Keras. It was a massive structure made of crystal and metal, designed to make every species feel welcome. Today, the main chamber was filled with representatives from 43 different species. A young historian named Velkash stood at the speaking platform. He was a threne, a species that looked like a cross between a spider and a cat. His 6 legs moved nervously as he prepared his presentation. This was his first time addressing the full council. Honored representatives, Velkash began. I have been studying human behavioral patterns for the past 3 years. I wish to present my findings on what I call the human threshold phenomenon. A few representatives shifted in their seats. Most looked bored. Humans had only been in the galactic community for 80 years. What could be interesting about such a young species? Velkash activated the holographic display. Images appeared in the center of the chamber. Humans have a unique psychological pattern. They endure far more provocation than most species before responding, but when they do respond, the scale is disproportionate to the immediate trigger. Explain, said Counselor Drex. A large reptilian species who controlled 3 major trade routes. Let me show you examples from their own history. Before they came to space, Velkash said. The hologram changed to show Earth's history. In their year 1941, the human nation called America was attacked at a place called Pearl Harbor. It was one military base. The attack killed about 2,000 humans. This was the provocation. The hologram showed burning ships and smoke. Now watch their response. The images changed rapidly. Within 4 years, America had built the largest military force in their world. They built tens of thousands of aircraft, hundreds of ships. They developed a weapon that split atoms. They did not just defend themselves. They completely changed the balance of power on their entire planet. One attack on one base led to a response that reshaped their world. Some representatives sat up straighter. This was more interesting. Another example, Velkash continued, the year 1957. One nation launched a small satellite into space, a metal ball that sent radio signals. This was seen as a challenge to America's position. Their response? Within 12 years, they put humans on their moon. They built a massive space program from almost nothing. They spent incredible amounts of resources, all because another nation launched one satellite. The hologram showed rockets and astronauts and the Earth's moon. "I see a pattern," said a Quellan representative, her blob-like body rippling with thought. "Humans do not respond proportionally. Small provocation, massive response." "Exactly," Velkash said. "But there is more. They are incredibly patient before they decide to respond. They endure. They negotiate. They try peaceful solutions. But once they conclude that diplomacy has failed, they do not do small responses. They solve the problem completely." "This is just their history," Counselor Drek said dismissively. "Ancient history from before they had space travel. They are different now. Civilized." Velkash's legs moved in a pattern that meant disagreement. "Are they? Let me show you more recent examples." The hologram changed to show events from the 80 years since humans entered space. The Kraven incident, 30 years ago. A Kraven warlord captured a human exploration ship, killed the crew, took their technology. The humans asked for justice. The Kraven laughed. They said humans were too weak to matter. "I remember this," said an elderly Hickson representative. "The Kraven were powerful raiders." "Were," Velkash emphasized. 6 months after the incident, every Kraven ship in space started having mysterious technical problems. Their weapon systems failed at critical moments. Their navigation led them into danger. Their communications were filled with strange interference. The humans never admitted to anything. They never fired a shot, but within 2 years the Kraven warlords were begging for mercy. They returned the stolen technology and paid compensation. The attacks on human ships stopped completely. "Coincidence," Counselor Drek said, but his voice was less certain. "Perhaps. Let me show you another case." The hologram changed again. The Drell Consortium 20 years ago. They tried to force humans out of the Kesper trade route using economic pressure. They undercut human prices. They bribed station officials. They made it impossible for human traders to compete fairly. "Legal business tactics, Maurer," someone said. "Yes. And the human response was also legal. They studied the Drell supply chains. They found alternative routes. They offered better terms to the Drell's other trading partners. Within 18 months, the Drell Consortium lost 40% of their business across 5 sectors. Not to direct competition, just to other species who suddenly had better options, options that humans helped arrange. They outmaneuvered them, the Quellan representative said with something like approval. "They did more than that," Velkash said. "They showed that they could damage the Drell without breaking a single law, without threats, without violence. They just quietly made the Drell Consortium's business model not work anymore." The chamber was quiet now. Everyone was paying attention. Velkash continued. "I have documented 17 incidents over the past 80 years. The pattern is always the same. Humans endure provocation. They try peaceful solutions. They are patient, sometimes for months or years. But if you push past a certain threshold, they stop negotiating. They start solving, and they do not do halfway solutions." "What defines this threshold?" asked a representative from a bird-like species. "That is the terrifying part," Velkash said. "It is not consistent. Sometimes it is violence against their people. Sometimes it is economic harm. Sometimes it is just repeated disrespect. But in every case I studied, there was a moment, a phrase, words that indicated the humans had made their decision." The hologram showed video of several incidents. In each one, a human said something similar. "You've crossed the line. That's enough. You've pushed it too far. Now you've really made it personal." "Words," Counselor Drek said. "Just words. Words that preceded consequences," Velkash said firmly. "In every recorded case when a human used this type of phrase, something significant happened within the next year. Sometimes within weeks. Correlation, not causation," Drex argued. An old representative from the hive mind species, the Quillith, spoke for the first time. The Quillith were known for their mathematical abilities. They thought in patterns and probabilities. We have analyzed this phenomenon independently. We ran 10,000 simulations based on human behavior patterns. In scenarios where humans are provoked past their threshold, they achieve their objectives 98.4% of the time. The chamber fell silent. How? Someone asked. They are creative problem solvers, the Quillith continued. They do not have one method. They adapt. They use legal means, economic pressure, technological superiority, social manipulation, or when necessary, military force. They use whatever tool fits the problem. And they are persistent. They do not give up once they decide something must change. Velkash nodded. This is what I wanted the Council to understand. Humans are not the strongest species militarily. They are not the richest. They do not have the most advanced technology. But they have something else. They have determination combined with creativity. They treat challenges as problems to solve, not battles to win. What is the difference? Asked the bird-like representative. Battles end, Velkash said. Problems get solved. If one solution does not work, humans try another. And another. They do not stop trying until the problem no longer exists. Counselor Drex stood up, his large form looming. This is fear-mongering. Humans are one species among hundreds. They must learn to follow the established order. The Vexorians are currently teaching them this lesson at Station Kepler 7. Velkash's legs shivered with concern. What happened at Station Kepler 7? A human commander objected to standard trade enforcement. The Vexorians put her in her place. She left with her tail between her legs, as humans say. Drex looked satisfied. What did she say when she left? Velkash asked urgently. How should I know? Some human nonsense. Velkash searched through his data files quickly. He found a report from Station Kepler 7, filed just 3 days ago. He found the security footage. He played it for the Council. The chamber heard Commander Sarah Chen's quiet voice. Now you've really pushed it. Velkash looked at Counselor Drex with all his eyes. You should warn the Vaxorians. Of what? Human words? Of human solutions, Velkash said. Because based on every pattern I have studied, the Vaxorians have approximately 6 months before they deeply regret what they did. Nonsense, Drex said. But several other representatives were already sending messages to their trading partners. The smart ones were checking if they had any business relationships with Vaxorians. The wise ones were quietly ending those relationships just in case. Because in the Galactic Council, there were 2 types of species, those who learned from history, and those who became history lessons. The question now was which type the Vaxorians would turn out to be. Commander Sarah Chen's ship arrived at Earth 3 weeks after the incident at Station Kepler 7. She went straight to the Human Diplomatic Corps headquarters in Geneva. The building was old-fashioned compared to alien structures, made of glass and steel instead of exotic materials. Sarah submitted her report. Every detail, every conversation, video recordings, witness statements, all documented perfectly. The official response came within a day. The Diplomatic Corps filed a formal complaint through proper channels. They requested mediation. They cited 17 different trade laws and regulations. Everyone expected nothing would happen. The galactic bureaucracy moved slowly. The Vaxorians controlled most of the administrative positions in that sector. The complaint would sit in some office for months, maybe years. But Sarah had not just filed official reports. She had also sent other messages. To trading guilds, to colonial governors, to the Merchant Marine Association, to private security companies, to engineering firms, to independent ship captains. The messages were simple. She shared what happened. Just the facts. No calls for action. No requests for help. Just information. In a restaurant in New Shanghai, 3 shipping company owners met for lunch. One of them had received Sarah's message. Did you see what happened at Kepler 7? She asked. Vaxorians being Vaxorians, another said. They took 6 months of Marcus Chen's trade. Goods, everything, and station authority. Did nothing because the Vaxorians control it. The third owner, an older man, put down his chopsticks. Chen, is Marcus related to the commander? Distant cousin, I think. Not that it matters. They took from a human. That's enough. They talked for a while. About trade routes. About the Vaxorians. About how much business would be affected if relations got worse. By the end of lunch, they had decided to start moving their shipping operations to routes that did not go through Vaxorian space. Just as a precaution. Just in case. On Mars Colony, a group of engineers were having a similar conversation. One of them had worked with Sarah years ago. Kepler-7, he said. Did you hear? What about it? He explained. The engineers listened quietly. Then one of them said, You know, I've been working on a new navigation system. Make ships harder to track. I was going to patent it, sell it commercially. And now? Now I think I'll just publish it. Open source. Free for anyone to use. Would be a shame if certain shipping routes became too dangerous for Vaxorian patrols to monitor effectively. That would be a shame, another agreed with a smile. On Luna Station, 3 military veterans from the Colonial Defense Force were drinking coffee. One of them read Sarah's message out loud. She used the words, he said. Which words? Asked his friend. She said, Now you've really pushed it. That means the commander has made her decision. Decision about what? About whether she's going to keep being patient or whether the problem needs solving. He took a sip of coffee. I served under her for 3 years. I've seen her get pushed. She takes a lot. But when she decides enough is enough, things happen. She's one person. What can she do? The veteran laughed. She doesn't do it alone. She just points at the problem. And people who agree with her solve it in their own ways. Nobody coordinates. Nobody gives orders. People just decide that, yeah, that problem should not exist anymore. On Europa, a young programmer was writing code. She had never met Sarah Chen, but she had friends who knew the commander. She had heard about Kepler-7. She thought about it while she worked on her project. She was designing a new trading software. It helped merchants find the best routes and prices. The Vaxorians used an older system that the programmer knew had security vulnerabilities, small ones. Hard to find unless you knew where to look. She did not hack anything. She did not break any laws. She just made sure her new software was very good at finding inefficiencies in competitor systems, and she made the software free for human traders. They would have advantages, small ones, but advantages that would add up over time. All across human space, people were doing similar things, not because anyone ordered them to, not because of some conspiracy, but because word had spread. The Vaxorians had pushed a human past her threshold, and humans, when pushed, tended to solve problems. Meanwhile, the Vaxorians were celebrating. Captain Thexrel got a promotion. He was praised for putting the humans in their place. The incident at Kepler-7 was seen as a perfect example of how to deal with uppity newcomers. Thexrel gave speeches. Humans think they can challenge our authority, he said to his soldiers. But we showed them. They left with their heads down. They filed their little complaint through channels like good subordinates. This is how the galaxy works. The strong rule. The weak obey, his soldiers cheered. More Vaxorian patrols started harassing human merchants. Small things. Inspections that took too long. Permits that needed extra fees. Cargo holds that needed to be completely unloaded for safety checks. The humans who were harassed did not fight back. They submitted reports. They paid the extra fees. They waited patiently through the long inspections. And they shared information with other humans about which routes were problematic. Trade patterns started to shift, slowly at first. Human ships found alternate routes. Stations that relied on human business noticed the decrease. They complained to Vaxorian administrators who ignored them. After all, there were plenty of other species trading. Humans were not important, but the other species were watching, and some of them were also receiving messages, not from Sarah Chen, from other sources, messages that explained what humans were quietly doing. Messages that suggested that maybe trading with Vaxorians was going to become less profitable soon. Velkash, the young Threen historian, was tracking all of this from his research station. He had monitoring systems watching trade flows, communication patterns, and ship movements. He could see what others were missing. Human ships were repositioning. Human traders were establishing new relationships with non-Vaxorian species. Human engineers were filing patents for technologies that would make Vaxorian trade infrastructure less efficient. Human programmers were releasing software updates that just happened to make Vaxorian systems less compatible with standard protocols. None of it was illegal. None of it was coordinated by any government or military. It was just thousands of individual humans, each solving a small part of a large problem in their own way. Velkash published a paper, The Distributed Human Response, He explained what he was seeing. He warned that the Vaxorians were about to face something they did not understand. Not a war, not a conspiracy, just a species-wide shift in behavior, all moving in the same general direction. Some species read his paper and quietly reduced their Vaxorian business ties. They had seen this before, or they had heard the stories. When humans decided something was a problem, it stopped being profitable to be on the wrong side of that decision. Other species ignored the warning. The Vaxorians definitely ignored it. They were strong. They had the biggest ships. They controlled key trade routes. What could humans do? On Earth, Sarah Chen was not giving speeches. She was not organizing anything. She was just living her life, doing her job. But people who knew her understood. The commander had spoken. The threshold had been crossed. Now humans were solving the problem. Each in their own way. Each following their own interests. But all of them seeing the same basic situation. The Vaxorians had demonstrated that they did not respect humans or human rights. That was a problem. Problems needed solutions. A Vaxorian intelligence officer reviewed reports of human activity. He saw the trade shifts. He saw the technology releases. He saw the new shipping routes. But it all seemed random, uncoordinated. There was no central planning, no military buildup, nothing that looked like a threat. He wrote in his report, "Human activity appears scattered and disorganized. No evidence of coordinated response to Kepler-7 incident. Recommend continued monitoring but no action required." The report was filed away. The Vaxorians continued their celebrations. They had won. The humans had been put in their place. They did not understand that humans did not need coordination. They did not need a central authority telling them what to do. They just needed to see a problem. Then each human would solve the parts of that problem they could reach, like ants building a nest, each carrying one grain of sand. No coordination needed, just millions of individuals all working toward the same general goal. The problem, from the human perspective, was simple. The Vaxorians had created a situation where humans were not safe or respected in Vaxorian space. Therefore, Vaxorian space needed to become less relevant to human interests. And if that hurt Vaxorian profits, if that reduced Vaxorian influence, if that made the Vaxorians regret their actions, well, that was just the problem solving itself. 6 months after the incident, most species had not noticed anything unusual. But a few did. The ones who paid attention. The ones who had been in space long enough to recognize the patterns. They saw humans quietly building something. Not weapons, something more subtle. A new economic and social reality where Vaxorian power mattered less and less. And they made sure they were on the right side of that reality. Because the smart species did not wait to see who would win. They recognized which side was solving the problem, and which side was the problem being solved. 6 months had passed since the incident at Station Kepler-7. The formal complaint filed by the Human Diplomatic Corps was still sitting in some office, waiting for review. The Vaxorians had not responded. They saw no need to. Captain Thexrel was now Admiral Thexrel. His promotion had been celebrated across Vaxorian space. He commanded a fleet of warships and controlled trade enforcement across 3 sectors. Life was good. Then the problem started. It began with small things. A Vaxorian cargo ship reported navigation errors. The computer system said they were at one location, but the stars visible through the windows showed they were somewhere else. Not far off, just enough to cause delays and confusion. Then it happened to another ship, and another. Within 2 weeks, every Vaxorian vessel was experiencing similar issues. Their navigation systems were still working. The problems were subtle, small errors, random glitches. Nothing that looked like sabotage. Just enough to make every journey take longer and cost more. Vaxorian engineers examined the systems. They found nothing wrong. The hardware was fine. The software checked out. But the problems continued. Ships arrived hours late. Fuel calculations were slightly off, forcing extra stops. Coordinates needed constant double-checking against star charts. Trade routes that had been profitable became problematic. Delays meant penalties. Extra fuel costs ate into profits. Customers started complaining. Some started looking for other shipping options. Then the supply chain problems began. Medical supplies for Vaxorian colonies were delayed, not stopped, just delayed. A shipment that should take 3 days took 6. Food deliveries arrived a week late. Manufacturing parts came in the wrong order. Again, nothing clearly wrong, just inefficiency, just problems. But problems that were adding up. Admiral Thexrel ordered investigations. His intelligence officers reported strange findings. Human ships were everywhere in Vaxorian space, not military ships. Civilian vessels, traders, explorers, survey ships. They were not doing anything illegal. They were just present, watching, recording. Sometimes their sensors were active, scanning everything around them. They are mapping us, one officer said. For what purpose? Thexrel demanded. Unknown, but they know our ship movements better than we do now. This was when the Vaxorian military decided to make a show of force. They would intimidate a human colony and prove that Vaxorian power was still absolute. They chose New Harmony, a farming colony on a small planet. The colony had 5,000 humans, mostly farmers and their families. Easy target. A Vaxorian fleet of 12 warships arrived in orbit above New Harmony. Admiral Thexrel commanded the fleet personally. He sent a message demanding the colonists pay protection fees and accept Vaxorian oversight of their trade. The response came from an elderly woman's voice. This is Governor Martha Chu. We decline your offer. You decline? Thexrel was amazed. We have 12 warships in orbit above your farms. You have no military. You will comply or we will land troops. Please hold, Governor Chu said politely. The connection switched to show an old woman, maybe 75 years old, sitting in what looked like a farm kitchen. She wore an apron. Behind her, through the window, Thexrel could see crop fields. Governor Chu, Thexrel said slowly. Do you understand your situation? Oh, I understand perfectly, Chu said. She had a grandmotherly voice. You have 12 warships. Very impressive. We have farms and defense systems. Defense systems? Thexrel laughed. This is a farming colony. Yes, Chu agreed. We grow food, but we also have 6 months of preparation time. You see, we heard about what happened at Kepler 7. We heard Commander Chen say the words, so we got ready. Ready for what? Governor Chu smiled. May I show you? I promise we will not fire on your ships unless you fire first. But I think you should see what you are considering attacking. On his command screen, Thexrel saw his tactical officers display. Red markers began appearing on the planet's surface. Dozens of them, hundreds. Each one was a weapons emplacement. Those are farm buildings, Thexrel said. Yes, Chu agreed. Barns, silos, storage buildings. We had 6 months and a lot of spare parts. Did you know that a grain silo can be converted into a missile launcher? The engineering is not that complex. We have 342 of them, each with targeting systems linked to a central computer. More red markers appeared. These are our irrigation systems. Pressurized pipes running across the entire colony. They also make excellent railgun barrels when modified correctly. We have 87 of those operational. This is bluff, Thexrel said, but his voice was uncertain. This is farming, Chu corrected. We work with machinery. We know how to build things, fix things, improvise things. We have welders, fabricators, machine shops. We had time and motivation. Would you like me to demonstrate? She pressed something on her tablet. On Thexrel's screen, a single red marker activated. A missile launched from what had been a grain silo. It flew up toward space, then detonated well before it could threaten any ships. The explosion was small but precise. That was a warning shot, Chu said. We can reach your ships. We have enough missiles to target each of your vessels 40 times over. We have railguns that can punch holes in your hulls from here. We have laser arrays that we normally use for clearing crop pests. They work very well on ship sensors. Thexrel stared at the screen. This was impossible. This was a farming colony. Old people, children, farmers, they should be helpless. How? He asked. We had instructions, Chu said. Not orders. Just helpful information. Engineers from across human space published designs. Open source, free to use. How to convert farm equipment into defensive weapons. How to link computers for targeting. How to use local materials. We had 6 months and 5,000 motivated people. We built all of this while still running our farms. This is madness. This is humans, Chu corrected. We do not have a military class and a civilian class. We are all just people who can fight if we need to. My husband was a Marine 30 years ago. My daughter is an engineer. My grandson just finished university studying physics. We all built this together. Between harvests, Thexrel looked at his tactical officer. Can we take them? The officer reviewed the data. Yes, but we would lose 6 ships minimum. Maybe 8. Their targeting looks very precise, and that is just their visible defenses. There may be more. For a farming colony? Thexrel was incredulous. They are not just farmers, the officer said quietly. They are humans. Governor Chu was still on the screen. Admiral, I am going to give you some advice. My grandmother used to tell me something. She would say, Martha, do not fight someone who has nothing to lose. And do not fight someone who has already decided they will pay any price to win. We are farmers. We just want to live in peace. But you threatened our homes. That means we will pay any price to defend them. Every person here, even the children, helped build these defenses. She paused, then continued. You can attack us. You might even win, but it will cost you ships and lives. And for what? To prove a point? To collect some fees? Is that worth it? Thexrel did not answer. He was thinking about the other human colonies. There were hundreds of them. If this farming colony could do this, what about the mining colonies? The industrial ones? The ones closer to Earth with more resources? I am going to withdraw, he said finally. That is wise, Chu agreed. And Admiral, you might want to reconsider your policies toward human traders, because if we can do this with farms, imagine what human engineers can do with shipyards, or what human programmers can do with your computer systems, or what human traders can do to your economy. The Vaxorian fleet left. They reported technical difficulties as the reason for their withdrawal. But word spread. The story was too strange not to share. Farmers had faced down a battle fleet. Velkash heard the story and added it to his research. This was important data. Humans did not have a divide between military and civilian. Every human was potentially dangerous because every human was creative and could build things. He published a new paper. The Human Defense Doctrine. How a species-wide engineering capacity replaces traditional military structure. Some species read it and decided to be nicer to humans. Other species read it and decided to avoid humans entirely. But the Vaxorians read it and dismissed it as more fear-mongering. They still believed they were strong. They still believed humans were weak. One colony with improvised defenses did not change that. They still controlled trade routes and space stations. They still had the largest fleet, but their ships were still having navigation problems. Their supply chains were still disrupted. Their profits were falling, and now their military had been embarrassed by farmers. Admiral Thexrel sat in his office and tried to understand what was happening. The humans had not attacked. They had not declared war. They had not broken any laws. They had just made everything harder. Every Vaxorian operation was less efficient. Every Vaxorian business was less profitable. Every Vaxorian plan was more complicated. It was like fighting fog. You could not punch it. You could not shoot it. It was just there, making everything more difficult. And somewhere out there, Commander Sarah Chen was still filing reports and doing her diplomatic work. She had not given any orders. She had not organized any resistance. She had just shared information and let humans do what humans do, solve problems, in their own creative, persistent, slightly crazy ways. Thexrel realized something that made his blood cold. This was Jew Admiral Thexrel's suggestion that the Vaxorians reconsider their policies was not well received. His superiors saw the withdrawal from New Harmony as weakness. They blamed him for making the Vaxorians look foolish in front of the galaxy. You were frightened by farmers with improvised weapons. His commander said, "This is unacceptable." They had significant defensive capabilities, Thexrel protested. They had vegetables and old people. You should have destroyed them as an example. Instead, you retreated. You made us look weak. This cannot stand. Thexrel was given new orders. Return to Station Kepler 7. Arrest all human traders operating there. Confiscate their ships and goods. Show the galaxy that Vaxorians do not tolerate disrespect. He did not want to do this. Something felt wrong. The humans had been too quiet, too patient. But orders were orders. He assembled a fleet of 30 warships, the largest show of force the Vaxorians had ever deployed in peacetime. They arrived at Station Kepler 7 3 days later. Thexrel expected to find humans protesting or trying to flee. Instead, he found an empty station. The humans were gone. So were most other species. The station was still operational. The lights were on. The air systems worked. But of the 2,000 beings who normally lived and worked there, only 300 remained. All of them were Vaxorian or closely allied with Vaxorian interests. Where did everyone go? Thexrel demanded of the station administrator. They left over the past week, the administrator said. His voice shook with fear. Ships kept arriving. loading people and cargo, then departing. We tried to stop them, but they had proper clearances. Clearances from who? The original station charter. It allows free departure. We never revoked it because we never needed to. No one has ever evacuated a station before. Thexerol felt cold certainty settle in his stomach. The humans had emptied the station. That meant something was about to happen. His sensor officer called out, "Admiral, single ship approaching. Human design." On the screen, a small diplomatic vessel appeared. Thexerol recognized it. Commander Sarah Chen's ship. The same ship that had fled from this station 9 months ago. The communication request came immediately. Thexerol accepted it. Commander Chen appeared on the screen. She looked exactly as he remembered. Calm, professional. Her eyes were cold. "Admiral Thexerol," she said, "I am here to offer you one final opportunity to resolve this situation peacefully." "You are alone," Thexerol said. "I have 30 warships." "I see them," Chen said. "Impressive fleet. I have a list of demands. The Vaxorian government will return all confiscated goods from human traders with interest. You will issue a formal apology. You will guarantee fair treatment of humans in Vaxorian space going forward. These are the terms for peace." Thexerol laughed.
He could not help it.
The situation was absurd. One small ship making demands of a battle fleet, or what? He asked. "You will attack me with your diplomatic vessel?" "No," Chen said. "I will not attack you at all. But if you refuse these terms, other things will happen. Things that have already been prepared. Things that are waiting for my signal." "You are bluffing." Chen's expression did not change. "I have never bluffed, Admiral. I gave you a warning 9 months ago. I said you had really pushed it. That was not a threat. That was a statement of fact. You pushed humans past their threshold. What has happened since then has been the natural response. We gave you time. We gave you demonstrations. We gave you every chance to make this right. Now I am giving you one last chance." "I refused," Thexerol said. His pride would not let him back down. "You have no power here." Chen nodded slowly as if she had expected this answer. "Then we will solve the problem." She pressed something on her console. "Execute." For a moment nothing happened. Thexerol felt relief. It had been a bluff after all. Then his communication officer screamed, "Admiral, contacts!" Multiple contacts appearing across Vaxorian space. The tactical display lit up with red markers. Not at Station Kepler 7, everywhere else. 47 different star systems. Every major Vaxorian military installation. Every important trade hub. Every government center. How many ships? Thexerol demanded. "Hundreds, Admiral. But they are not military vessels. They are cargo ships, mining vessels, colony transports, civilian ships." On his screen, Chen was still there watching. "We spent 9 months mapping every Vaxorian military asset. Every base, every supply depot, every command station. We knew where everything was. And we positioned ships, civilian ships crewed by volunteers, each one with improvised weapons, each one ready. You cannot win a war with cargo ships," Thexerol shouted. "We are not fighting a war," Chen said calmly. "We are solving a problem. Admiral, your military bases are not designed to fight civilian vessels. Your defenses expect warships, large targets, heavy armor. You are not prepared for hundreds of small ships attacking from multiple angles with improvised weapons." The reports were flooding in. A mining ship had destroyed a sensor array at Vaxorian Military Base 7. A colony transport had disabled the command center at Outpost 12. A cargo vessel had taken out the defensive grid at Station Beta. "They are using railguns built from cargo loading equipment," the tactical officer reported. "Missiles converted from mining charges. Laser cutters modified for weapons. And they are coordinating perfectly. Every attack is hitting weak points. How is this possible?" Thexerol stared at the display. "Humans share information," Chen explained. "Every weakness in your defenses, every flaw in your systems, every vulnerability we found, it was all documented and distributed. Every human ship captain knows exactly where to strike and how. You planned this. This is an act of war." "We planned defense," Chen corrected. "You brought a fleet to intimidate us. We are showing you why that was a mistake. But notice something, Admiral. Look at the damage reports carefully." Thexerol looked. The attacks were disabling systems, destroying equipment, but casualties were minimal. The human ships were targeting infrastructure, not people. "We could kill you," Chen said quietly. "We could have blown up every base. Destroyed every ship. We have the positioning. We have the weapons. But we chose not to. We are disabling your military capacity. We are showing you that we can reach anything in Vaxorian space, but we are not killing unless we have to. Why? Thexrel asked. Because we are not monsters. We are just solving a problem. The problem is that Vaxorians do not respect human rights. The solution is to make you unable to threaten us. We do not need to kill you to do that. We just need to show you that your military power is irrelevant against a species that can turn cargo ships into warships. More reports came in. Every Vaxorian military installation was under attack. Not destroyed, disabled, sensors gone, weapons offline, communication disrupted. But the people were mostly unharmed. You are crippling our entire military. Thexrel shouted. Yes, Chen agreed. That is the point. You threatened us. You hurt our people. You refused to make it right. So we are removing your ability to hurt anyone. This is the solution. The Galactic Council will not allow this. The Galactic Council is watching right now, Chen said. We invited them. They are seeing everything. They will see that we gave you warnings. We gave you time. We tried diplomacy. And when you brought a fleet to Station Kepler-7 to arrest our traitors, we responded with precise, measured force. On the screen, Chen leaned forward. Admiral Thexrel, this is your last chance. Really, truly your last chance. Accept the terms. Return what you took, apologize, guarantee our safety, or we will finish what we started. Your military will be completely disabled within the hour. Your government will be unable to project power beyond your home system. You will be isolated and helpless. Thexrel looked at his tactical display. His fleet here at Kepler-7 was untouched. He had 30 warships. But what good were they? The rest of the Vaxorian military was being systematically dismantled by civilian vessels. He thought about firing on Chen's ship. One missile. That would be satisfaction at least. But then he thought about what would happen next. The humans would stop holding back. They would finish the job. And this time they might not be so careful about casualties. I accept, he said quietly. Say it clearly, Chen demanded. I accept your terms. The Vaxorian government will return all confiscated goods with interest. We will issue a formal apology. We will guarantee fair treatment of humans in our space. Good, Chen said. She pressed her console again. All human vessels cease fire. Maintain position but do not attack unless fired upon. Across 47 star systems, the attack stopped. The human ships remained in place. Watching. Waiting. Their weapons still active but no longer firing. You have 72 hours to begin implementing the terms, Chen said. Every human traitor will be compensated. Every confiscated item will be returned. The apology will be public and formal. If any of this fails to happen, we will resume operations. And next time we will not stop. The communication ended. Chen's ship turned and began to leave the system. Thexrel sat in his command chair and stared at the tactical. 1 year after the incident at Station Kepler-7, the Galactic Council convened a special session. Representatives from all major species filled the crystal chamber on Karis. The topic was simple but important: what to do about humans. Velkash stood at the speaking platform again. This time everyone was paying attention. His research had been proven correct in the most dramatic way possible. He was no longer a young historian making theories. He was the expert on human behavior. The question before us, Velkash began, is how to coexist with a species that operates so differently from our understanding. The Vaxorian conflict provided us with valuable data. I would like to present my conclusions. The holographic display showed a timeline of events, from the initial incident at Kepler-7 to the final surrender of the Vaxorian government. Humans are persistence predators, Velkash explained. On their homeworld, their ancestors hunted by following prey for days or weeks until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. This behavior has translated to their civilization. They do not give up. They do not stop. They pursue their goals with patience and determination that other species find difficult to understand. A Quellan representative raised a tentacle, but they showed mercy. They could have destroyed the Vaxorians completely. Why did they not? This is the key point, Velkash said. Humans are not violent by preference. They are problem solvers. The problem was not how to destroy Vaxorians. The problem was how to make Vaxorians stop threatening humans. Once that problem was solved, the violence stopped immediately. He changed the display to show statistics. In every conflict involving humans over the past 80 years, this pattern holds. They use the minimum force necessary to solve their problem, but they define their problems broadly, not just stop this attack but ensure this cannot happen again. That makes them predictable, said Counselor Drex. The large reptilian looked uncomfortable. His species had significant trade ties with the Vaxorians. The conflict had cost him money. No, Velkash corrected. It makes them consistent. But their methods are highly unpredictable. Who would have thought to turn cargo ships into weapons? Who would have imagined farmers building missile silos? Humans adapt. They improvise. They use whatever tools are available. An elderly representative from the Quillith hive mind spoke. We have updated our analysis. In future scenarios involving human conflict, we can now predict outcomes with 99.3% accuracy. Humans win unless they are completely exterminated in the first strike, and no species has the capacity for such a strike. The chamber was quiet. The implications were clear. Humans could not be defeated. Not practically. You would have to destroy Earth and every human colony simultaneously before they could respond. An impossible task, so what do you recommend? Asked a bird-like representative. Simple, Velkash said. Treat humans fairly. Respect their rights. Honor your agreements with them. They are not unreasonable. They tried diplomacy for 9 months before taking action. 9 months of complaints and negotiations. They gave every chance for peaceful resolution. They also destroyed our military credibility, Counselor Drex growled. The Vaxorians did that themselves, Velkash said firmly. They chose to escalate. They chose to bring a fleet to intimidate human traders. The humans simply responded to the threat. What did you expect them to do? Submit to bullying? Drex had no answer to that. The council voted on a resolution. It passed with only 3 opposing votes. The resolution was called the Chen Protocols in honor of the commander, who had shown such patience and restraint. The protocols were simple. Human traders would receive the same rights as any other species. Disputes involving humans would be mediated fairly. No species would be allowed to use military force to intimidate human civilians. Violations of these protocols would result in council sanctions. It was revolutionary. For the first time, the council was saying that a young species, one barely in space for 80 years, deserved equal treatment. But the council members understood. The alternative was worse. If they did not protect human rights, humans would protect themselves. And that protection tended to be expensive for everyone involved. Station Kepler 7 reopened under new management, a cooperative board representing 12 species, including humans. Admiral Thexrel had been removed from command. He spent his days writing memoirs that no one wanted to read. The Vaxorians were not forgotten, but their influence had diminished significantly. Commander Sarah Chen returned to the station for the reopening ceremony. She wore her dress uniform, the same one she had worn a year ago when she was humiliated and dismissed. The new station administrator, a Threen named Kelvex, greeted her personally. Commander Chen, welcome back. We have made many changes since you were last here. I can see that, Sarah said, looking around the transformed market section. It feels different, because everyone here wants to be here, Kelvex explained. The traders who remained did not flee during the evacuation. They stayed because they believed the station could become something better. And those who fled have mostly returned, now that the management has changed. Marcus, the trader who had lost his goods in the original incident, approached Sarah. He looked healthier now, less stressed. Commander, I wanted to thank you. For what? Sarah asked. For not giving up. For making them understand. I got everything back. With interest, as you demanded. I can rebuild my business, that was the point, Sarah said. No one should lose their livelihood because someone decided to abuse their power. A young alien approached timidly. She looked like a small mammal covered in soft fur. Commander Chen, may I speak with you? Of course. I am a student. I am studying human culture. I have a question if you do not mind. Go ahead. When you said the words, now you have really pushed it. Did you know what would happen? Did you plan all of this? Sarah smiled slightly. I did not plan any of it. I just shared information. I told people what happened. The rest happened because humans saw a problem and decided to solve it. Each in their own way. But you knew they would. I know my people, Sarah said. We do not like bullies. We do not like injustice. And we are very good at solving problems when we work together. Even when we do not coordinate, we somehow end up working toward the same goal. The young alien looked confused. How is that possible? Because we share the same values, Sarah explained. We believe people should be treated fairly. We believe agreements should be honored. We believe the strong should not prey on the weak. When those beliefs are violated, humans respond, not because anyone orders them to, but because it is what we believe is right. That is beautiful, the young alien said. And terrifying. Yes, Sarah agreed. It is both. That is humanity. Later, Sarah stood at a viewing port looking out at the stars. Velkash found her there. The historian had become something of a friend over the past year. You are famous now, Velkash said. Every species knows your name. I did not want to be famous, Sarah said. I just wanted justice for Marcus and the others. You got more than justice. You changed the galaxy. The Chen protocols will affect trade and diplomacy for generations. Good, Sarah said simply. Maybe the next human who faces unfair treatment will not have to go through what we did. There is something I want to ask you, Velkash said carefully. That day at the station, when you said those words, did you mean them as a threat? Sarah thought about this for a moment. No, it was not a threat. It was a decision. I decided that I was done being patient, that the situation had to change. The words were just me acknowledging that fact to myself. But you must have known what would follow. I knew humans would respond somehow, but I did not know how. I did not give orders. I did not organize anything. I just trusted that other humans would see the same problem I saw and would work to fix it. That trust was well placed. It always is, Sarah said. That is what people do not understand about us. We do not need a king or an emperor to tell us what to do. We do not need a hive mind or a central authority. We just need to see what is right and what is wrong. Then we act, all of us, in our own ways, but always toward the same basic goals. Velkash was quiet for a moment. Then he said, You know what the other species call you now? The threshold species, because you have a threshold that should not be crossed. Every species has limits, Sarah said. Yes, but most species show their limits with displays of aggression. Threats, posturing, humans do not do that. You are calm and patient right up until the moment you are not. And then you do not threaten. You solve. It makes you unpredictable. We are very predictable. Sarah disagreed. Treat us fairly and we will be your best friends. We will trade with you, share technology, help with problems, but treat us unfairly, and we will solve that problem. It is simple. Simple, Velkash repeated. Yes, I suppose it is. They stood together looking at the stars. Ships came and went from the station. Human ships, Vaxorian ships, Threen ships, all trading peacefully, all following the same rules. A young human officer approached Sarah. Commander, we have a message from Earth. The Diplomatic Corps wants you to lead the new Frontier Relations Division. What does that involve? Sarah asked. Helping other species understand humans, mediating disputes before they become conflicts, teaching them about the threshold. Sarah smiled. Teaching them not to push it?